Hey, happy Thursday, everybody. Mark again here, Weatherman Plus. Now we're going into a big change on our weather pattern. It's going to affect our temperatures, it's going to affect our tropics, and we still have the severe weather risk for today. Chances for tornadoes, hails, destructive winds. I will go through this with you, and it will continue for tomorrow, but it will weaken down some. We still have another storm coming up in about 5 days, another ridge rider as we go on this pattern change. And this is going to affect heat as well, so our high pressure. We're going to get a lot of heat that's going to start building in this region. This is still bringing storms up and over. That's why they're called ridge riders. But later on, this high pressure is going to expand out in this direction, all the way into the Gulf. And this is going to swing everything to the west in the Gulf of Mexico. Matter of fact, this is what we have now in the Gulf, besides the Invest 90L moving along. We have 40% chance for this forming, plus in Eastern Pacific, this still has a 20% chance, maybe a 30 by now. But all this is going to start bottling up right here because of this high pressure that is pushing everything in the western direction. This is also pulling some dust in that we're going to get. This is going to go into the south central for a little while this swirls around this high pressure, brings it all the way up towards the Great Lakes, towards the Ohio Valley as well. But then this high pressure is going to move over here. And this is going to funnel everything into the Gulf, potentially forming a tropical depression, a tropical storm after we deal with this, and maybe even a low-grade hurricane. And I say that only because the wind shear starts going away and our temperatures are very hot in the Gulf of Mexico, well above average. We're literally sitting at August temperatures right now. And while I'm mentioning temperatures, as this dome, this big high pressure moves around, is going to move the heat further over towards the east. And this is bringing extreme temperatures. Remember, I have a link in the description for you to check out what your local temperatures are and what your weather is going to be. That way you can best prepare for it. Make sure to hydrate today for tomorrow. That's the best way you can do it. It don't work if you drink today for today. You got to do it a day before. If you've never been here, make sure you subscribe. I'm all year long on my weather forecasting. Make sure you click the bell. That way you get the latest updates. Now, yesterday with those storms, we did get a potential tornado over here by Florida. Did get some wind damage, possibly by a tornado that did happen. We also had over 100 hail reports and some wind damage reports that came through also for last night. This is going to grow for today as we get that bow and line segment. So for today, you can see you do have a chance for tornadoes. It has ramped up a little bit more. 2% going all the way into Michigan now, and a 5%. So far, here's your cities and states at risk for the tornado threat for today. Also have the wind threat. You still have the chance for hurricane force winds. They still call it destructive winds. This is 75 miles per hour or up to 95. Same thing as yesterday. Significant severe in this black section and very high winds in this 30%. So far, here's your cities and states at risk for the damage and wind threat for today. And a hail threat. Even significant severe, still large to very large, and there's 30% chance for large hail for today. So far, here's your cities and states at risk for the hail threat for today. The National Weather Service still has it as severe thunderstorms are most likely across southern Iowa into northern portions of Missouri and Illinois during the late afternoon to early evening. Very large hail, destructive wind gusts, and a couple tornadoes are possible. Now, as we go into tomorrow, this will carry towards the northeast. It's not going to be for a tornado threat. It's going to be for wind and hail. But you do have a 2% chance for tornadoes for tomorrow, for Friday. So far, here's your cities and states at risk. The wind threat is going to be much bigger all the way to the northeast also, and significant severe in this black section for high winds. So far, here's your cities and states at risk for the damage and winds for tomorrow, for Friday. And your hail threat is going to be all across the Central Plains for tomorrow, right when it comes off the Rockies. So here's your cities and states at risk for the hail threat for Friday. National Weather Service has out for scattered severe storms with large hail and severe wind gusts. Some to 80 miles per hour will be possible from Friday afternoon into the evening across parts of the Central Plains. Thunderstorms associated with damage and wind gusts will also be possible in parts of the Northeast during the afternoon and early evening. Also showing that your potential 80 miles per hour wind gusts will be across southeast Nebraska and northwest Kansas. Now you can see the latest evolution of the run. As you get some storms that came from Wisconsin, it will go towards Michigan as you go through this morning. Then you got some more that's going to brew up for southern Minnesota, while you're still getting that trail of storms across southern Florida. This is going to start leaving Florida after today. It's going to get a little bit easier for you. But you see, as you go through the afternoon, once you get around 2 o'clock in the afternoon, you're starting to get severe storm starts popping up over here for southern Wisconsin. As that pushes pushes a little bit further towards the east. Then it grows across the lake. Then it starts going into Michigan. You start getting that Bowen line segment already. Start pushing out chances for those damaging winds as it keeps going all evening long. Look how it pushes also another line of storms that grows over here from Illinois, southern Iowa, all the way towards Kansas and northern Missouri as you go through the evening. This is around dinner time, 8 o'clock at night now. While it continues to push to the east for northern Missouri, Illinois, northern Indiana, all the way to later tonight. Then it starts weakening down. Then it comes in for tomorrow, bringing some storms across the northeast, mostly in the higher elevations. Looks like it's going towards New England. It's going to be the strongest portion of it as it goes towards tomorrow evening. Then that's going to push offshore, while you get some more storms that bruise up over here for the Central Plains. But you can see literally where you're getting this high pressure ridge that's starting to build on these storms as it goes through today and tomorrow. This is going to continue to move, and so will the heat. This is going to bring those very hot temperatures with it. And then later on, we're going to get that next pattern. This might help the Gulf spark up a little bit before we potentially still go on that break. What you get on the 15-minute increments, and you see as you go through the evening, as these storms brew up, they're bringing up this 50, 60, 70. That white is 80 in there. Miles per hour wind gusts along all of these storms. Now remember, when we come back on Monday, we still have this risk. We still have another ridge rider coming across. A little short wave trough, bringing a 15% risk for severe weather. So far, here's your cities and states at risk. I will keep you updated. Now, in this portion, I'm going to go through the latest tropical update. Then I'm going to go real quick on the update on the temperatures. Remember, links are in the description below to see what your local weather are, and so is the timestamps. Now, you see Invest 90L. It has a 20% chance in 48 hours, 20% in 7 days. The trend has been it's going to stay weak as it pushes off to northern Atlantic. Not showing a lot of threats to anyone, Nova Scotia, anyone. Not showing any further threats coming with this system. And we also have this PTC down here. This disturbance 2 is going up to 40% chance. Now, this is where a tropical depression could form up while it moves west, just west in general across Mexico. What we're waiting to get is for this high pressure to go to the eastern side of the Atlantic and pull up that next wave while the dust is smashing everything west. And you can see the latest track guidance on Invest 90L still going out to the northern Atlantic. It's not showing any threat to anyone. Matter of fact, the chance for a tropical storm, it did show a little bit of a chance in 72 hours, has taken that away as well. It will remain somewhat a strong tropical depression all through its life cycle. And we still have this disturbance in eastern Pacific still at 20%. Still might just coast along the Mexican coast right here, bring some precipitation, but also the energy could get together with that potential tropical depression in the Bay of Campeche while all this generally just goes over Mexico. It will bring y'all a lot of rainfall. You do need it. It has been very hot and very dry, but unfortunately being that dry, it will lead to flooding as well. And then after this is our next threat. So when we look at our updates, the latest update with our potential velocity anomaly with GFS for a favorable or unfavorable environment, showing what we're dealing with now, that possible tropical depression in the Bay of Campeche, but showing something's going to form a little bit further to the east over here by Central America, by eastern Yucatan, western Caribbean, and maybe go into our Gulf. Now, for trending purposes, we look at the latest with the Euro. It is showing that chance for that tropical depression big time forming up in the Bay of Campeche. But once you go from the 17th and on, it does see something a little bit further to the east, but it also takes it a lot weaker. So you can see this here when you look at the latest evolutions with the Euro as we get that first disturbance possibly forming up a tropical depression and going west into the Bay of Campeche right in towards Mexico. You can see after that, this high pressure that we have up here starts expanding out. This is where you have this high pressure and then it starts expanding out, but it moves towards the Bahamas. This is where you get a Bermuda high. So as this moves over and grows over there, it brings all this precipitation in this general direction and starts growing up a chance for a tropical wave to form going right to the west, northwest into the Gulf of Mexico. There's a lot of precipitation. There's a lot of dust that is packing up in this direction as well. Why you got this high pressure just swinging everything in this general direction. Now, when you look at your chance for your wind shear, you can see at that moment that it does have a lot of above average wind shear, but it starts growing a pocket of average wind shear where it really weakens down right towards the Bay of Campeche right here. And this is where things are going to change. Now you can see the same thing with GFS agreeing that in 10 days, literally this is 10 days, I will keep you updated right now. We're looking at a pattern showing it in the same location. You can also see that it also agrees that you will have that average wind shear, and you will be above average wind shear above it, but it also shows that it starts going into favorable environment, and you start to get some cyclonic vorticity growing in the western Gulf of Mexico. So when that happens, you can see it starts strengthening once it gets some of that intensity. And when you look at your shear, you can see that your above average wind shear starts going away, and you start getting average to a little bit below average in the western side of the Gulf of Mexico. And your potential velocity anomaly gets a lot of vorticity, a lot of lift, starts favoring in this direction because it's getting cycled in by the high pressure as this goes to the west. Now in this evolution, it shows it possibly get down all the way to 952 once again. The intensity is not trending, but it is showing with the Euro in that direction also. Matter of fact, the last hurricane to make landfall in June was Hurricane Bonnie in 1986. And before that, it was 1957. So it's been a long time since we even had a possible hurricane in the Gulf in June. Now, when you look at your GOES satellite, you can see that it does push all this dust. All this purple is showing dust, pushing all this precipitation, this dark green, further to the west as we go to the coming days, as we get that high pressure revolving around everything to the west, still bringing dust in towards the south central, towards Texas, as you go from Monday and on, still going all the way up towards the Great Lakes, right around that high pressure, and more dust is coming off. See, so the Caribbean, the MDR, it is going to take a break after this. But until then, we still got to deal with this, where it pulls all this precipitation, all this moisture up, and it could form up something strong right after. So here's the one that's going west from the Bay of Campeche, that 40%. You see how it gets pushed to the west, might even get some dust in there, some dry air, and just really weaken it down after it tries to strengthen. But right after this, you can see we started getting another wave forming up. And this is the one that's taking this further to the west, showing so far that you will get that one in the Bay of Campeche, and it still will go to the west, while you still have this high pressure revolving around everything far to the west. But if you pay attention, you'll see that next transition on this weather pattern, that it starts growing its chance for its low pressure on that next group of moisture. And you can see your high pressure is in this direction. This will help swing everything in. Now, there's a couple factors that could be going against it. Of course, it's timing. It does have all about timing, but also the dust. The dust can get in there, some dry air, and help weaken this thing down. That's what the Euro sees, but it's still days away. Anything can happen. I will keep you updated. So the latest trend you can see with GFS, it takes it into a storm and then takes it right into the Gulf. This is on a previous evolution, takes it right in towards the south as a potential hurricane. As you go into the early 20s, why you get this swinging high pressure, swinging everything around with that. Then you had to update this morning, and it showed the same thing that it showed a few days ago, that it starts forming up later into the Bay of Campeche in the western Gulf, which makes a little more sense because that high pressure would push it further west. Not the intensity of it, but still we are talking about the Gulf of Mexico. It depends how long it stays there revolving for it to grow this strong, and it does show still that 950 something major hurricane still popping up in the Gulf. So here's what the Euro sees. It sees that one in the Bay of Campeche forming up, going west still, and then you see that transition going in that same direction while we get that high pressure expanding, bringing everything towards the western side of the Gulf of Mexico. It's not showing the same intensity. Keep in mind, this is literally the last few days of the run. It's not showing the same intensity, but it is showing the same track. When you look at the ensemble of the Euro, the control member, it goes further. It's made for medium to long range, showing the same thing and showing it will go further in that direction. Showing it by the control member of the Euro shows it weaker, but still shows it going in that direction. And over here is where it's very warm waters in the Gulf now. They were cool. Now they're the warmest waters in the Gulf. And you see how it just evolved warmer and warmer. And now only as of Tuesday, a couple of days ago, this is the warmest waters right now in the Gulf. Well above average temperatures and the northern side of the Gulf of Mexico. So as it cycles through, if there's no shear, if there's no dust dryer getting involved in it, it could strengthen up towards the coast. That's a possibility. When you check your chances for a tropical depression, as you go 6 and 7 days away, you can see that first one starts making that move towards the Bay of Campeche and going west as you go 10 days away. Then your favorable environment expands a little bit into the northern Gulf of Mexico. This is right where the GFS sees that potential formation. Then after that, it goes stronger and more towards the west also. Look how your favorable environment favors growth in the western and northern side of the Gulf of Mexico. This is serious. I will keep you updated. If this trend continues, we may have a problem. Showing in 5 days that you still could get something form up later in this evolution of Invest 90L, still not showing any threat to anyone. And after that, the storm that forms up in the Bay of Campeche, you can see how the ensembles agree that more than likely it will be over here in the southern half. Still a couple of stragglers, but at this moment, there's so many that says it will be down here. It pretty much will be, and it will go to the west. After that, that's when we possibly have something that could form up and quickly spin up around this high pressure that we need to watch out for. That has been showing that run after run. Also, you can see here on the ensembles, as you go 5 days, you can see it's showing a lot of things weak. This one in the control member actually showing both of them starting to form up and leave at the same time. And you can see some starting to show already something strong. Now, yesterday it showed something weak. Today it showed a lot of strength. Today it shows a bunch of them showing it could start getting towards a hurricane already as you go towards the high teens and the low 20s on that second evolution of that storm. Look at it, multiple showing now a lot of strength. And if you've been following me every day, you remember yesterday it showed a lot of weakness on that first one and we couldn't see the second one. But now the second one's showing a lot of potential, a lot of strength on a lot of these ensembles coming through. It's starting to show a little more strength than weakness. The only good news I can bring you on this is so far right now on this evolution, this is your control member, your more than likely outcome. Showing in 5 days, we could get a weak upper level low moving from the Bay of Campeche while we get that upper level low forming into the Western Caribbean, showing that it could go further to the west and the high pressure don't quite set up over Bermuda yet. It stays lingering over the southeast, pushing this further towards the west. And that would keep it somewhat weak as well, as they can't get into that favorable environment. Just fighting it over and over, but the high pressure wins and nothing forms out of that. And then finally it becomes a high pressure over Bermuda while there's no tropical wave. And still showing with the long range, we still have all this favorable environment to deal with. We might have something a little bit further in the late 20s. That's one that's trying to pop up a little later. Remember, this is the Euro. This is the one that's forming up by the Western Caribbean. Potentially can't go too much further to the west because all this dust is going to persist through after that. And still showing after that, the dust is going to continue to persist, and all this favorable environment of something growing up potentially will be somewheres into the Eastern Pacific. So remember, I have this link in the description for you so you can click on it, see what your temperatures are in your area. It'll let you know your weather and your temperatures of what you can expect. This is not your heat indices, it's just your temperatures. Because as we go towards the weekend, it's going to start building. As a matter of fact, it's gotten a little worse towards the southeast as we go into Sunday. Not only do we have the major, we also have the extreme in the purple start kicking up for some very hot temperatures. And this is getting into the high 90s. So you can always check it and see what your temperatures are. Plus over here where you've seen all this red, all this major, you're getting into the 90s as well. But it's going to get worse. As we go into Monday, it's going to grow further towards the east and north, bringing all this major temperatures up here and the extreme. This purple is going to be extreme. As you go into Tuesday, look how it grows even worse. Now it's going into Wisconsin, it's going into Michigan, bringing all these high 80s and 90s. And we wasn't able to see Tuesday before. Look how much this grows into Tuesday, bringing a lot of people not only in the major, but the extreme level of this heat. So this is growing. Wednesday, it shows it's going to go back down a little bit, but still a lot of heat rolling around. But this is only for this week. It's going to stay there for next week also. And you can see this here, your latest update, your risk for hazardous temperatures continue as you go from the 20th through the 26th. And your moderate level, your red level that could go up to purple extreme as well, is in this section from the 20th through the 24th, also for the northeast for the 20th and the 21st. But it will continue all the way to the 26th in this slight level, also for the western side of the lower 48. You can also see the latest evolution on HRRR, that it is bringing storms over northern Indiana, southern Michigan by the time you go towards 6 o'clock. Remember, this is Central Time. And after that, it is bringing a little bit more of a bow-in and strong storms, mostly towards northern Missouri, coming from eastern Iowa, going into Illinois on this line of storms. And then going through the night through Indiana, and calming down. But thank you for your time. I hope this has helped you understand what this pattern is that we're going into. I will keep you updated, of course. Now, as far as afternoon updates, it's still a little too far away to start doing afternoon updates. We need to see if the trend keeps going and the weather pattern does stick into the pattern that we see here today. Then I will keep giving you afternoon updates. Until then, it's still too far away, and daily updates will be enough. Now, before you go real quick, Luke Chapter 9, 1 through 6. Then he called his 12 disciples together and gave them power and authority over all devils and to cure diseases. And he sent them to preach the kingdom of God and to heal the sick. And he said unto them, Jesus said unto them, take nothing for your journey, neither staves nor scrip, neither bread, neither money, neither have 2 coats apiece. And whatsoever house ye enter into, there abide, and thence depart. And whosoever will not receive you, when ye go out of that city, shake off the very dust from your feet for a testimony against them. And they departed and went through the towns, preaching the gospel and healing everywhere. Amen. Have a great day, everybody. I'll keep you updated. Watch for these severe storms passing through. It's been going back and forth on where they go on a format, but somewhere along them line of storms, it could be some powerful winds as well. Remember, all glory does go to God, our Father in heaven, Yahweh. And I always hope He keeps you safe every single day of your life and forever. Amen. Hallelujah. Amen. Have a great day, everybody.